Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This Christmas week, I am lucky enough to chat with the appropriately named Kyle Klaus. Kyle's an actor that has turned up on everything from The Last OG to Homeland to One Life to Live. And we talk about all of that, plus the odd job of being someone's stand in double, as well as his great uncle, Santa Claus. It's a fun interview, and I think you'll enjoy.
Hey Les, what's going on, man? It's Kyle Klaus.
Hey, thanks so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. In looking through my research, you've both turned up on a ton of shows, but your demo reel looks fantastic. But
Oh, thanks, man.
you've also done some one of the jobs I always think is odd on the path into it. You've been a stand-in on occasion for folks. Can you talk a little bit about you? I mean, you've also I don't guess anybody has really a straight path into the entertainment industry. I guess the most common seems to be go to college for acting and then sleep in your car in LA for a little while. Uh, but
Yeah,
but you
that's what I
came to
wanted
it
to
a
try to
little
avoid.
you came to it a little differently as well. You've had a successful business, had a feet under you as an adult, and then went on this. Can you walk me through a little bit your journey of getting bit by the acting bug and getting into it all?
So I actually came into it, I would say fairly young, but not not growing up in high school knowing, okay, I'm going to be a theater major or anything like that. So I got into it basically when I went to college. In high school, growing up in Pottstown, PA, you just really didn't act. You weren't an actor. Nobody was doing it. I was like, just playing sports and, stuff like that. It really didn't have any kind of like, it wasn't close to a major city. I think Philadelphia was the closest one, about like an hour away or so. Not until I got to college where, I started kind of expanding my mind and kind of thinking, okay, like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Like, what am I passionate about? And I just really, I kept coming back to, my gosh, like, I'm going to, you basically want to follow your dreams as a kid, and it was one of those things where it was just like, I really knew that, man, I would love to be an actor in movies, but like that's not even possible. Like to me, it wasn't even fathomable. It's like something you did, if you maybe grew up in New York or like, or like you said, go and live out of your car forever and, become an overnight sensation. It was very like such a gamble and everything.
Yeah.
But I started dabbling in it when I got to college because, they just had better resources, like a theater department. You meet different people outside of your like, little small town. And sure enough, I saw some signs for, independent films and I started dabbling in it that way. And then I had a lifeguarding job in the summer and I met a talent agent that worked in Philadelphia. And, I just started like asking questions and getting the ball rolling, and it kind of just snowballed. And it went from like, just being interested to acting as a small little part in an independent film, not knowing anything I was doing. And then, kind of like finding out what casting directors were and, asking questions and getting into involved in like some major productions that came through Philadelphia. They would have like one or two big films, and Annapolis was one big film, and I was able to be an extra in that movie. And then it was like, wow, I got to see how a movie was made. Now I'm like bit by the bug. Now I want to see myself in a movie. Then Invincible came, and then I met one of my like idols growing up in the business, Mark Wahlberg. And I just always kind of could relate to him because I was like, I knew he wasn't like a big guy or anything. I mean, he was big muscular wise, but he wasn't like a tall guy, and we're exactly the same height, like 5'9", and he was just this badass guy, though. In the acting world, it was just this, the kind of roles you would get. And then I found out about the stand-in position and like what that entailed, and I was like, wow, you get to be really close to the actors, see how they act, and see the director, and be in close contact with these guys. So then Mark just happened to come back and do a couple more films in Philadelphia, and I tried out for the job, and I ended up getting in it. And I really, kind of became, I would say, friendly with him. Like he, saying hi every day on set, like small talk and stuff like that. And, was able to ask him a couple questions, and then about the business and everything. But at the same time, I had this other side of my brain that was like, Kyle, this is a very chancy business. This is a big gamble if you're going to do this. So I need something, everybody knows actors are bartenders and waiters and stuff like that, but I just didn't want to. I knew this could take, 10 years. Maybe I never, even broke out. The handful of actors that become famous are like, it's not like a doctor where you just go up the ranks and then you become this famous actor, So I was just like, well, it's a gamble, and I need to know that I have something that I'm able to, like, maybe very flexible, but do the auditions and all that stuff. But still, I find myself at 40 years old or 45, like not getting that breakout role. What would I be happy with myself for? And that's when I stumbled on the real estate. And the two kind of both simultaneously, like I grew with both of them. So that's pretty much how I came into everything.
Yeah, I think there's two really interesting things. There's both I understand what you mean about growing up in a town where there's just not a path for anybody you've ever seen going from where you live to movies. And
right.
and then, going to college and starting to normalize that, like, no, this is a job that people get. Or taking the stand-in position, not as anything, I'm tangentially near this, like, no, as an acting lesson, as a business lesson, just as normalizing seeing yourself, standing there every day going, well, okay, what exactly are the differences between me and that dude?
Exactly.
But then separately recognizing that the way you got to do this is a long game, and you can't set a clock on yourself of 1 year or I'm done. This is all the money I could scrape together, and then we got to quit acting. But at the same time, you can't just, you can't go rise up the ranks in a corporation, work a 60-hour week and still make auditions.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just, I'm surprised more people don't, and maybe people do and just don't manage to pull it off. That people don't look outside of the bartending wait. I mean, I did bartending and waiting. I feel like most people probably have, but at the same time, it's just it's so hard to scrape. Acting is fickle, but God, fighting for hours and tips is fickle too.
Oh, 100%. And it's not very flexible.
No. In
the grand scheme of things, it's not.
I don't know how I had never considered real estate as a much more flexible appointment set kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more. Yeah, it takes a little more, thinking about it. Like, sure, for instance, waiter and bartender, I love that. There's nothing better than going home with like a wad of cash in your pocket, But the thing was, when I got to New York, it was like, especially here, it was like bars were open till 4 a.m, and then maybe I'd have an audition at 9 or 10, and it's like, man, I get home when the window, the sun was coming up, and having bags under my eyes at 20 years old, and I'm like, Jesus, this is not sustainable in the long term. And it took a little bit more thinking. And the funny thing about real estate is it's super flexible. People may not think it's flexible because they're like, oh, I got to deal with clients and when they want to show properties and everything. It's like, no, you have, just like acting, you have a lot more power inside you and a lot more ability to be your own boss than typical actors may think. It's the same thing with acting. A lot of people put the power in somebody else, in the power of casting directors and directors and agents. And it's like, no, you have the power. Like, and especially with real estate, if I get a audition and then I get somebody that wants to see a property, I'll say, hey, can't show you the property at this time. I can go at this time. And other people are scared that like, oh, well, they're going to lose out on potential business. But it's like, you set the tone.
Yeah. I mean, that was a hurdle I ran into early on in setting interviews. I never wanted to push back on any time setting ever, of just I'll lose the interview. And while, yeah, I don't want to push people around or seem inflexible or unavailable. When I finally did, like, oh God, I just can't get out of it. I've got to push back. And they went, yeah, no problem.
Exactly.
I was like, oh man, this is all in my head.
That is 100% true. Yeah. It's the same. I feel like it's a belief with a lot of people, they're just nervous about, but then once you do, they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, we can do another time, and it's like, oh, all right.
One of the things I hear a lot is that auditioning, staying in classes, keeping your craft sharp is the job, and that working is the cherry on top that happens occasionally. You've worked with several acting coaches that are New York Conservatory. You've worked with Austin Pendleton at HB Studio. Can you talk a little bit about what you feel like you get from classes? How does that fit into it? Is there a regimen to kind of staying on being an actor for you?
Yeah. So I would say that I really, when I first came to New York too, I had no clue what I was doing. I never went to theater school. I never, like you said, never majored in theater in college. So I quickly realized I felt like I put the cart before the horse business sense, but I didn't have a good sense of what I was doing, like of the craft. So I remember right when I got here and I was getting a couple opportunities because of my relationships I had for auditions. And I just really felt like, man, I'm giving a bad audition. I'm not, at the top of my game. I don't even know what I'm really doing here. And then I just dove in for 2 straight years and remember going to every class. I just wanted to like really create the muscle and flex the muscle for acting, because that's, it's one part of an acting career, but it's a major part. Your craft is your skills, and I remember Austin Pendleton one time saying, he was the first class I ever took, and I kept seeking out who the best teachers were. And I remember him saying to a scene partner before I ever did a scene in a class before, he said, yeah, Kyle, he knew this other scene partner that I was with was pretty talented and she was a working actress. And he was like, yeah, take care. You and Kyle team up. You guys do a scene together. Kyle is very talented. I just don't think he has any craft. And I was like, what the hell does this mean? So I quickly realized that, like, okay, so talent's like an innate thing where it's like you have athletic ability or something like that. But craft is like you're polished in the, you can bring out like some things you might quickly relate to and just like you could play this character because it's you. But other things you have to kind of really figure out how to play this guy, and because they're not so close to you in real life. So I would say that it's really good getting involved in a lot of different techniques, because there is not one size fits all. Like the Meisner technique, learning Stella Adler, all these different people that came from different schools of training, and then just taking bits and pieces that works for you. And that's when I really got empowered also. And I started booking more jobs and started like getting further along in my career when I stopped looking for answers, but I kind of like looked within myself and said, okay, this works for me. Like, for instance, I might have trained with one acting coach who's a theater acting coach, and her thing was don't ever memorize lines. But then I would go to another acting coach, and maybe they were more heavily weighted in TV film, and they were like, no, you got to memorize your lines, of course. And then, but memorize them this way. And then, implement them. So there's always different, teachers will always try to give their opinion, but then you really got to do what works for you. And I would just say that like keeping in acting class is good for keeping your skills sharp for your self-confidence. But one of the couple times where I really started booking jobs was when I kind of put my foot down and was like, you know what? I'm being the best student in all of these classes. But it's a time when I can just say, okay, trust myself and do what works for me and what I find true. And that's going to, I would say that is the most important thing. When you can kind of pick and choose a couple things. Like I know, for instance, myself, I need to memorize lines because not that I'm so married on how to do those lines, but just that I memorized them, maybe with no emotion behind it. But now that gave me the confidence that at least I know that's my safety net, and then I can play around with it. And that was when I really started booking a lot of work.
Man, I can't thank you enough for taking time to talk to me about it all today. This has been really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
I am planning to release the interview just before Christmas, and so I would be remiss if I did not touch on an odd bit of trivia with your family. I'm sure you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So you've got the last name Klaus, and had a great uncle, is it, that was actually named Santa?
Yeah, so funny enough, my great uncle, my grandfather's on my dad's side brother, was he was born on Christmas Day, and they actually named him Santa as his first name, Santa Paul Klaus.
That's great.
He went by Paul all the time, so he didn't get beat up all the time in school.
Like I go by my middle name as well, and I remember, it was fine. Nobody knew what my first name was until we had a substitute teacher, or I went to some school competition or something like that, and then we get read for awards or something, and like, hey, what's up, Simon? And so I could just see him every once in a while, like being in grade school and like Santa, like no substitute. I'm Paul.
No.
I'm Paul.
Yeah, of course. And all the kids looking around like, what?
For you as a kid, did you grow up seeing him?
Up as I actually never met him. He died very early on. I think he had cancer, and sad story. But and even remarkable enough, it's kind of morbid. But when he died, his he not that it's morbid. He just he passed away, but he passed away just I think it was a few days before or a few days after Christmas. So it was almost like he was born on Christmas and died almost on Christmas. I can't remember if it was a couple days before or after. But he's in Ripley's Believe It or Not, actually.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he used to dress up as Santa Claus in the Macy's Day Parade.
And that's great to have a humor about it. I'm glad he wasn't just like, nope, never bring it up.
Yeah, right. No. He actually signed checks to Santa Claus.
Oh, I would. Oh my God. Yeah,
of course, man.
Sign everything, Santa Claus. That's great. Man, can't thank you enough for taking time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.